This is just a basic video on one critical component of any good emergency electricity supply system. Your stock of spare lamps, because it'd be really annoying if you had a lamp burnout and you only had one per fixture and it's TEOTWAWKI +5 and you trip and break your neck and you starve to death and your many months of food reserves do absolutely no good because you're dead, which would suck. This is just my particular reserves of lamps. They've got wedge base types here, bayonet, and there's also a couple like grain elite lamps there. Very hard to see, but because these are only T1 lamps, only about 1/8 of an inch in diameter, but that's one of them. They're, I think, 7219s. You get an envelope of 2 of them at Radio Shack for fucking change about. And I got the stone based ones, those are for some other fixtures. If you're going to go with any kind of emergency lighting system, you're going to want either single contact bayonet or T3 1/4 wedge, because they're common. Lots of things take them, and especially if you have anything that can take up to 18 watt lamps, because the highest power rating available in these is 18 watts, type 921s there. I think these guys do that, because very easy to find these, and they're much cheaper than going with these types of lamps, although I also have a bunch of fixtures because these are also useful. But they're expensive for GLS lamps. That one of these boxes is a little over $5 each from bulbs.com. I've got a lot of boxes of them here. Of course, I'm a lamp collector, so that's entirely normal. And then you've got these Halco ones. These are pretty much your standard Chinese, but they're halfway decent for what they are, and they were cheap. These are only about $1 something each. But bulbs.com stopped, but no, not bulbs.com, bulbman.com stopped carrying them, so I only have 2. Then you can also get what are probably made in the same factory, because no foreign business can ever actually own outright anything in China. They always have to have some government front company as their partner, who will ultimately go in and steal their assets and intellectual property, which is very common, but you never hear about it. Mosquito. But these are much more expensive. These are $3.49 when I got them. The 50 watt equivalents are $3.99 each, so that's when I got these. I may have gone up in price because of the Bernac. That's a zero hedge inside joke in case you didn't get it. I've also got these 50 watt KLDs. These are the generic ones included in some 12 volt trouble lights I got, along with probably one of the crappiest pictorial representations of a lamp base. Don't know if you can see it, but that's supposed to be dual contact bayonet. Your Brits, and if you're from India, you'll recognize that instantly, and that's a regular Edison screw. Always it's supposed to be. And of course, can't read much anything else because it's in Chinese, which I don't speak at all aside from a couple of insults. And so yeah, this is... Also, you want to be careful with these, because if you hook these up to 120 volts, they'll blow up. And if you have any kind of lamp that could be easily confused, like these 12 volt S6 lamps, that's a 6 watt S6 envelope indicator lamp. These will blow up too, because I did that once many years ago before I started collecting lamps. Because you can easily tell, but you can easily tell by the C6 filament in there. Most other ones usually have a C7 filament. You can look that up on lamptech.co.uk if you don't know what those are, but those are standard filament designations. And overall, I'd say, unless you need pretty bright stuff like a 1073 or an 1156, which are almost as bright as a 40 watt 120 volt lamp, even though they're only 23 watts and 27 watts, although these are only good for 200 hours. These are the 1073s. The 1156s are good for 1,200 hours. If you need that kind of brightness, go with these, but if you only need something up above to about a 25 watt, the equivalent of a 25 watt, 120 volt incandescent lamp, go with these, because go with the wedge-based ones, because these are much cheaper. These Hungarian GE/Tungsram ones, these are buck and change each from all about buck 40 something. The ones that don't have the colored filament support button are Chinese or Taiwanese CEC Industries ones. These are only 88 cents each from bulbs.com, so they're reasonably cheap, and CEC Industries is by no means the worst as far as lamps out there. Although some of these, you can get these for, I think some of these were 39 cents or something, but others were over a buck each, so depends on your needs. Also, one last thing, it's very good if you mark on the case what the lamps are. That's what all those are, those little markings. Mark the lamp type, because it makes it much easier to sort through these. And also, unless you really need it, you want to avoid these PAR 36 lamps, because they're expensive, unless you need a spot lamp or something, in which case they're a good buy. And you can get spares, because you can get things like a box of 2 of them at Home Cheapo for 10 bucks, which is dirt cheap. That's 5 bucks a lamp for PAR 36s, but they're Chinese, so quality could be dubious. But the American-made equivalents like this one, this is a 4411 tractor headlight lamp. These are expensive. They're probably set you back probably between 8 bucks and 15 bucks on Grainger. You'd have to check that, but yeah, these are good if you have any kind of critical optical considerations, or if you were going to light up something like the area around our chicken house. You could just chuck a line of speaker wire over a tree branch, tie it onto the terminals on this, and you have an instant ground light with reasonably good optical control. But for just general lighting service type applications, these are much easier. Also, these will commonly only last a few hundred hours. Most automotive lamps like the Type 93s here, these will last. These are Type 93s, those are 700-hour lamps. As of the Type 94s, which is the exact same lamp except it is a dual contact bayonet base instead of a single contact. But in some cases, like these 1003s, single contact, and the 1004 double contact, again, only difference, those are 200-hour lamps. As of the Type 922s. The Type 921 is 500 hours. And for emergency lighting lamps like these 915s here, those are only 50 hours at 12 volts even. But these are for emergency lighting where efficiency is critical, and because they're in systems where the battery only has a life of about 1.5 hours in terms of charge before the light shuts off, because the battery's starting to get low. If you go below that, it'll be destroyed. That's what those are for. But I only have these because, again, I'm a lamp collector, and while this may seem like a lot of lamps to most people, it's, even though it's a few hundred lamps, I've got a couple thousand lamps in my collection, including some really nice stuff which I'll probably do a video on but later. But yeah, this is something you want to have, even though something like this wedge-based kit, this is a lot more lamps in it. That's probably a little over 100 bucks worth of lamps right there. So I accumulated it since probably early 2008 or so. So if you spread it out over years, it's not too bad. This one's at least 50 bucks worth. And things like these, it's 10 bucks. That was, I think, about 8 bucks and change at Lowe's. This I got for stupid cheap at a flea market, which is what doesn't have a package. And these, probably a good 60 bucks worth of lamps in there. So just to give you some ideas.